Remember those plaques and posters you see around different places that say, today is the first day of the rest of your life? I had one on my wall in my bedroom when I was a teenager. It meant something different then than it does now. It meant something so different when there was way more life out ahead of me than behind. And so with each passing year, my New Year's assessments of what's going on in my life, where I've been, where I've come to, where I want to go, takes on an increasing paradox. Each year I get a wider sense of the universe, of history, of humanity, of the continuum of time, and this spot in it, my spot in it. And at the same time, I become more intensely aware of this spot in it. And so when I'm looking at the global, both this global sense and this tiny little dot that is where I am right now, it makes my life seem way more important and not important at all in the grand arc of time. And when I look at that grand arc and I feel this paradox of feeling where I stand in history, in humanity, and where this little dot is, it's just a blip. It's just a blip. But it's my blip. And it's your blip. And somehow, some way, we have found ourselves in this blip together. And so, with that in mind, this little blip that we share, suddenly, all the material parts of our lives and the things that day to day make us sad or glad or feel successful or not, however you want to define that, comes into a new perspective. And it sifts itself through until I find the only thing that really matters to me in this blip is the relationships that we share in this room, in our families, with our friends and chosen family, with our community, with our neighborhoods. In this blip, the only thing it comes down to for me is the relationship. Our relationship with Earth as well, because she's just trying her best to keep us alive, no matter what we do to her. In this blip, only love survives. The love that came before this time, the love that brought us here, the love that we're in this moment, and the love that will continue long after these bodies have done what they need to do and their earthly incarnation and decoration has ceased. With this in mind, what do we make of a new year that comes on the heels of a really, really, really hard old one? It's one of the hardest I've ever lived through. And maybe one of the hardest for you. And certainly one of the hardest for the most vulnerable, and frightened and oppressed and impoverished in body or spirit among us. For many, 2017 did not feature our best selves. Certainly not mine. Time after time after time after time, I missed the mark of who I want to be and who I have said I will be. You know, that's the definition of, that's how the Greek word that we translate as sin, that's what it means, missing the mark, falling short. Bound up with my moral failures in 2017 was also my anger and my pain at others who were most definitely not being their better selves. And I found myself behaving really badly in reaction to their behaving really badly. It's kind of like that story we tell about when dogs bark. You know, when dogs bark and you yell at them to stop barking, all the dog thinks is, oh good, we're all barking. Until the noise level and the intensity gets more than we can bear. And their fight or flight senses kick in. We don't quite know what to do. I don't want to live that way this year. I want this year to be better. You know, quite often at New Year, the new beginnings and fresh starts we talk about are so much more symbolic than sincere. I mean, how many years in a row do I have to write down that I will lose weight and clear my clutter before I realize that I really have no genuine intention of doing either? That's the crux of the matter, the intention. It's not what we think or say we want to do, but what we set our hearts to do. So this new year feels kind of different. This year, I don't really care much about losing weight or clearing clutter. This year, I want to begin in a new way. Not with resolutions, but with intention. Not with a list, but with a shift. Not with goals, but with grace. This year, I don't want to change my mind. I want to feel my heart change my mind. This year, I want to begin again in love. Okay, so good. And how in the world does one do that? Well, for me, it starts with forgiveness of others and of myself. Now, forgiveness is tricky because it falls on a spectrum. On the easy end, we're on our way to coffee, we bump into each other, I say, oh, I'm sorry, you say, oh, that's all right. We forgive and we go on and we forget. In that context, forgive and forget works. On the other end of the spectrum are the wounds that leave marks on our bodies and on our spirits, and sometimes just will not seem to heal. And people who will never say, I'm sorry. What about those? On the easy end, forgive and forget can actually work. On the hard end, the excruciating end, the when will the hurting stop end, actually forgetting is not realistic and actually not even prudent to tap into the true power of forgiveness and self-preservation. Now, for those of us in the Me Too movement, this poses a very real and present dilemma that society at this moment will not let us decide to just forget. What about when those whom we would forgive don't deserve it? Not in the least. Those it would feel so much more satisfying to retaliate, to take revenge, to shame them as we have been shamed, and to cause them to hurt and feel the kind of pain that we have felt. What about them? How do we forgive them? That's not the question. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for me. It's what I just did right there in that very moment, just talking about it. I hurt myself wishing that I could hurt them. Forgiveness is not for them. It's for me. The Buddha said, refusing to forgive is like drinking poison, hoping the other person will die. Now, make no mistake, the kind of forgiveness that can heal us is very, very, very hard to do. It is not simple, and it cannot be rushed. It takes time, it takes intention, it takes clarity, it takes discipline, and it takes support, which is just one reason why we come to this place, so that we have a shot at doing the hard things, not alone. Dr. Frederick Luskin of the Stanford University Forgiveness Project offers us some guiding wisdom. Tell someone you trust about your experience to help get clarity in the telling. Remember, forgiveness is for you and for no one else. Know that forgiveness, this is crucial, know that forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation, nor does it mean condoning the other's actions. It does not necessarily mean reconciliation, and it does not mean condoning their actions. The peace you seek is yours, not theirs. Remember that a life well lived is the best revenge. Continuing to carry the pain gives the pain giver more power over you. And think about the possibility of rewriting the end of your grievance story with your heroic forgiving. This morning we will share our annual fire communion to release the old and make way for the new. As we consider what to offer to the fire to leave behind us with this old year, regret and sorrow and fear and disappointment. For me, anger. We ask how best we might begin again in love. What have you carried to the gateway of this new year that is just too heavy to carry on? What things did you do and say you wish you hadn't? What things did you not do and say that you wish you had? What weighs you down, holds you down, and keeps you down? Of what would you be forgiven? And what would you forgive? The ushers are going to come around with baskets. Two different kinds of paper. One is green and one is white. And also a basket of pens and pencils in case you should need one. Y'all would take one of each. Take a piece of white paper. Take a piece of green paper. Here's what we're going to do. Think about $2017. I know you don't want to. Think about 2017. What would you leave behind? What would you let go? What would you release into fire? That it not be part of your life again. Fire is purifying. As the paper comes around, take the white piece of paper and write on it what you want to let go. What didn't work? What pain are you just tired of dragging around? What behaviors came up in you this year that you don't want to continue? I, for one, am trying to learn not to scream at the television. And not to be a news junkie. We say news junkie lightly, but I'm talking seriously, not to be a news junkie. You know, I learned a long time ago, many different times, that the world doesn't stop turning around and doing its thing just because I stopped watching it. It will be there when I return. Lord knows we've learned that this year. On your white paper, write what you would release and not carry into this new year. Now I'm going to light this candle from our chalice flame. And as you're ready, fold that paper up and come on up here and release into the flame with the burning of the paper what you wish to let go. If you'd like me to put it in the fire for you, I'd be glad to help. Source of all, we release into the purifying fire all that holds us back and holds us down. We let go of the past and ask that we learn from it how better to live our lives for this new day, this new year. As we release these things, we ask that we learn to forgive others and ourselves. Amen. And now that we have released the old, let's embrace the new. Think now of good things. What did you do better? What will you do even better? What will you accomplish? How will you heal? How will you grow in this coming year? What hope, what dreams will you carry? And knowing the world can only change when we change, what would you change? How are you called to cultivate all that is good, all that is holy around you and within you? Let's take a moment of silence to write on your green paper what you want to carry forward. Now take this paper inscribed with the good things you want to keep and create. Put it in a safe place. Tuck it in your wallet or your pocketbook. Stick it on your refrigerator. Tack it on the board at work, your board, not the public bulletin board. Someplace you will see it again as a reminder throughout the year of how far you've come and how far you can go. With this prayer, source of all, we open ourselves to the possibilities arising in the days ahead. We seek the fortitude to live into those possibilities with our whole selves. May we realize the power within us to cultivate passion and compassion, justice and joy, healing and hope, that our hearts might live a love so real that it cannot help but transform us and transform the world. Amen. Today, as I set my intention for this new year, to learn the art and the science of forgiveness, to begin again in love, I remember the words of a wise elder, still known as Anonymous, who once said, "To learn to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that prisoner is yourself." If you're looking for a moment's peace, if you're longing for some sweet release, if you're searching for some quiet place to rest, forgiveness. If the anger's grown too much to bear, if you're tired of trying not to care, if you just want to stop that aching in your chest, forgiveness. Forgive and forget, Old saying goes, that's not what I mean. The heart can't forget all the pain it knows, but forgiveness can begin to wash it clean. If you're wading through a long night's dream, looking for the sun's first beam to begin the day anew, not second best forgiveness. If you're looking for a way to love, it's more than somehow good enough. Face the day with nothing left. Forgiveness, like the body heals but leaves a scar, so the wounded heart and soul. Every lesson learned may leave a mark, but forgiveness can begin to make us whole. It just might be the bravest thing you do, to free the pain that poisons you, to leave behind that load, start afresh. Forgiveness.